Last planner in construction, macro takt planning strategy, master schedule level. Okay, so I'm super excited about this because we're gonna do 20 videos talking about the last planner system and how we go from step to step to step. In this video, I'm gonna talk to you about how we begin the last planner system with a macro level takt plan, or as the industry understands it, a master schedule, and give you basically all of the things that you need to understand as a brilliant A+ builder so that you can implement an A+ system. So I'm gonna get right over here to my flip chart in the back, and we're gonna give you both ways, takt, and we're going to give it to you for CPM and make sure that you understand perfectly how to then transfer it to the next step. So after this, we will be talking about pull planning, because once you have that macro level phase or that phase in your CPM, we then need to be doing the pull plan. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to make sure that we have just a brief overview of what the last planner system is. So let me draw that really quickly. In the last planner system, we have your master schedule, and I'm just going to write these down as individual words. And the master schedule should have your start and finish milestone, and then it should have your different phases. I'm just going to leave those as summaries right now. Now these phases then, once you have them, your start and your end milestone, that's when you then pick a milestone and you do your pull plan forward and back, or back and forward, however you want to do it and it's most effective for you. Then once you do the pull plan, you should be able to, for that phase, have what's called a norm level takt plan or a production strategy in either takt or CPM. I prefer takt. And what that will have at the end is buffers at the end before the milestone, if we've done it right. Then we slice down the 6-week make ready look ahead so that we can make work ready within that plan, okay? And then from there, we filter out the weekly work plan, and this allows us to make commitments and make sure we're coordinating handoffs. And then we're able to go do our day plan, our zone control walks, and we're able to track percent plan complete. So I'll just go ahead and do PPC. So we're right here in this video, okay? So the point here is, this is your strategic planning, so I'll mark it with an S. And then this, as we start to get into the production plan, we start to, from here down, get into your short interval production. This means that we're really bringing it to the field. Like, this is the last planner system, basically from here down. But inside the last planner system, you must have a master schedule. So let me talk about what we're going to do here. When you have a phase, and I just gave you a summary, shown in a time by location format, in the macro, meaning as your master schedule, you will have a start milestone and you will have an end milestone. And what's genius about the takt production system is that if you have it in this format, you can go ahead and initiate a pull plan 3 months ahead. You can initiate the pre-construction meeting or the preparatory meeting or pre-install, whatever you call it, 3 weeks ahead. And then as you're going ahead and looking out at that phase, you can look out 6 weeks ahead and 1 week ahead to do your look ahead and weekly work planning. It's absolutely genius. And then as long as all of the materials inside this phase are on your procurement log or on your schedule with buffers, you should be good to go. The key thing that I want to point out here is inside this framework, it's such a good framework. You have a sequence that's verified by a pull plan in the next step. You have a line of balance, which is the speed of the phase in a time by location format. And then you have your milestone, and if you did have buffers, you would see those buffers at the end. This is all verifiable. And what we want to do is, if this is a macro phase, meaning this was our contractual promise, we want to optimize this later on, and we want to, through proper zoning, which I've talked about a lot, we want to incline that phase without hurting trade partners and gain buffers ahead of the milestone. We want those buffers. We need those buffers in the norm. And so we've got to go from our contractual promise to our production target. What happens in between, the gap in between, is the pull plan. So I'm just going to draw a line here, and that pull plan, contrary to what most people teach, In that pull plan, we must do our sequence forward back or back forward, but we have to do it by zone, and we have to consider all of the zones, and we have to optimize it right then and there if we want to do the last planner system correctly. If you're implementing the last planner system, you must have these phases with tact, knowing that this milestone is your slowest contractual or your slowest reasonable speed, and then later we're going to do a pull plan and we're going to accelerate. And let me actually talk about CPM right now. CPM is problematic because you will have a phase with a start milestone and end milestone. I do have to say, when you think about phase planning, it's not 3 weeks out, it's not 6 weeks out, it's not 3 months out. A phase is the start to the end of a phase of work. And phases have unique zones. So you're talking about like foundation, superstructure, interiors, exterior, the central utility plant, you know, the site work, right? These are phases, start to end. That's how we do pull planning, okay? Your CPM is problematic because it is not going to have optimization strategies typically built in, meaning the critical path method is designed to make sure that you don't have, and I'm not talking about longest path, I'm talking about the critical path, is designed to make sure that you don't have float, you don't have buffers, and that literally this has been pushed forward and back, everything to its earliest start, and you don't have float or buffers in the system, typically. So this milestone may not be set right, but if you're about to go do this pull plan from CPM, and actually let me go ahead and grab my red pen here, you're going to grab the sequence so you can then pull it into your pull plan. Just like in Takt, but in Takt it's better, you're going to grab this sequence for one zone and you're going to use that in your pull plan. So my point is this, and I want to be very, very specific about this. We'll do pull planning in the next video, but for the macro-level takt plan inside the last planner system, you must have, oh, this is so good. I hope you love this video. You must have the milestone, and you must be able to reference the original sequence in one zone from the takt plan, or the sequence inside the work breakdown structure from your CPS, your critical path schedule. And that will give you your milestone, and your sequence will give you your starting point with the pull plan, so that then you can collaboratively engage that sequence, that coordination, and when I do it, the zoning and the right number of zones, the right size of zones, so that you can get back to this norm level production plan. And let me just close out with this. If you have a CPM schedule, you will use this sequence, but you will say with the trades, hey, how many zones will we have in this production plan? And you will collaboratively make that sequence with them, and then we can cascade that down. And hopefully, if the CPM schedule has set the milestone properly, which it very rarely does, I'm very sorry to have to say that, we can optimize it to gain those buffers. What I'm worried about is that if the CPS has basically increased work in progress so much to where it's all moved forward to its early start, that you have a situation like this. That's why I always say we really need to do it with a macro level takt plan, because our calculators will make sure that that doesn't happen to you. And so if that does happen to you, there are a number of things that we can look at. And if you have any problems on this YouTube video, please reach out in the comments. But if you have a sequence, and if by chance that CPM schedule milestone was set properly, you should be able to do the same thing here. But if you do it with Takt, you definitely will if you use the calculator. And now you have what's called a norm level production plan with buffers, and it's not a production plan if you don't have those buffers. If you don't have buffers, this is not going to work. So that's why I always say we've got to use Takt. That's what I want to cover in this video, is what we have to start with. And I typically don't summarize, but you need the milestone, you need the sequence, and you need to make sure you have enough time. That way you can go in and do the pull plan and get to that norm level production plan. This is what you're going to execute. And when you do that, you can then immediately go into pull planning, which is what we're going to cover in the next video. I will put this into blog post to summarize the notes as a call to action. And the other thing I want to invite you to check out is our book, Takt Planning and Takt Steering and Control. It goes through this perfectly. And if you have to use CPM, there's another book which is called The 10 Improvements to Last Planner and the 10 Myths of CPM. And if you want to then go into pull planning, we have a book called Pull Planning for Builders. We will link that all to you in the description below. I'm super excited, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.